Talk with Dr. John on this Thursday night, January 7th, 2021. Wow, what a year it's already been, right? So glad you're here with us tonight. I'm your host, Dr. John DeGarmo, founder and director of the Foster Care Institute, and this is where you go not only to get help you need as a foster parent, the support you need, the answers you need, and to join together in fellowship. There's no different kind of lifestyle like foster parenting. It is very, very different lifestyle. So that's why I'm so glad you're here with us. So glad you're here. What we do is we come together every Tuesday and Thursday night, this time 7 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern live, and we come together to join each other as foster parents, to support each other, to give each other the support we need, the resources we need, the community we need, and to answer those questions that you're really struggling with right now. Because my friend, here is the truth. If you've been with me before, you know what I'm going to say. No one understands what you do. No one understands what you do as a foster parent. Not your friends, not your family members, not those closest to you. The only one who truly appreciates, understands, recognizes the day-to-day challenges you have is another foster parent. When your heart breaks and these kids leave, hey, the people who understand it the most are fellow foster parents. It's a unique lifestyle, one I've lived for over 60 plus kids. Every child's made me a better person. Has it been hard? Yes. Sure, it's been hard. Have there been times I felt like quitting? Yes, absolutely. But I'm so glad I've become a foster parent, 60 plus children. So we come together to give each other the support we need to answer questions. And I want you to do three things. Here are the three rules, first of all, okay? Rule number one. Tag a friend. Let your friends know that you're here so they can join us to come together to give each other the support we need. Hey, I want to say hello to Michael. I see that Michael's here tonight. Elena is here. Hey, Elena. Mela is here. Mela, glad you're here. Tara is here as well, and Lauren. Rule number two. Oh, and Garza here. Garza, glad you're here. Rule number two. Get those fingers flying. Ask anything you want. It doesn't matter. Foster parenting, adoption, kinship, parenting, anything. I'm an open book. I'll answer anything you want. You want to talk about some of those books in the back there? You want to talk about our brand new webinar that's coming out next week at the Foster Care Institute, webinar number 58, I believe it is. You want to talk about tomorrow's, you want to sneak peek about tomorrow's foster parenting tip of the week, whatever it might be, we're going to answer your questions. I'm never offended by questions. I love questions. If you read my book, Fostering Love, you know I married someone from a whole different continent. And when I first met her, I kept asking her questions because I wanted to get to know her. Rule number three, my favorite rule, and I think you like this one too, is someone makes a comment, someone asks a question, you think, Dr. John, wait, Dr. John, wait, here's my hand up. I think I can answer that. I've been there, done that. I want to give my experience. Yes, please do. I want to hear from you. Yeah, I've written all those books. I've traveled the globe working with foster care agencies, but I still learn every day, and my hope is I can learn something from you tonight. So won't you do that? So again, get those fingers flying. Ask anything you want about foster care. We're going to be able to make sure we answer, hopefully, your questions in the next 30 minutes. Jenny's here. Jenny, welcome. So glad you're here. How can I go about potty training my foster son? He's almost 4 and screams when I take off his diaper and won't go near the potty. I've let him pick out the care, won't take him till he's potty trained. Wow, I know how hard that. Jenny, hopefully, well, maybe you have already, maybe you haven't done it. I'm going to encourage you when we're all done tonight, I'm going to encourage you to go over to the webinar at the Foster Care Institute, the training webinar, Bedwetting and Children in Foster Care. Bedwetting and Children in Foster Care. There's a whole bunch of strategies in that webinar that I know you're going to find a lot of help with. Again, bedwetting and children in foster care, a number of strategies. And Jenny, here's the best part. After you watch it, you can download the certificate, put your name on it, the date on it, print it out, and you get an hour's training webinar. But to begin with, don't embarrass him. He should never feel embarrassed. This is normal. Many children in foster care do have that. In fact, there are so many kids who at the age of 4 who are still, well, he's almost 4, so he's still 3. Very normal. Very normal. Now, it's very likely, Jenny, that he's had some type of trauma, right? He's had some type of trauma, so he's experiencing anxiety, and that might be related to the bathroom. I don't know his personal history, but you have more insight into that. So consider the trauma he's been through, consider the anxiety he's feeling, continue to compliment, continue to encourage him. There are, of course, rewards when it comes to potty training as well. Again, but Jenny, there's so many strategies in that webinar, so check that one out tonight. I know you're going to find the help you need in that webinar. That's one of the ones I really enjoyed creating this summer at the Foster Care Institute because I learned so much myself there. All right, Lauren is here. Lauren, welcome. Glad you're here. Any advice for first-time foster to adopt parents? Ask for infant 3 months or less. What would be a red flag that is not going to be long-term? Lauren, well, first of all, you know, it's tough being foster to adopt. And I'll tell you why that is, Lauren. I've had 60 plus children come from my own home. All right. And as you know, if you read some of my books, I've had as many as 11 at the same time in the house. I've adopted 3. I've had 4 failed adoptions, which you probably know if you saw my TED Talk, right? So the end goal for foster care, Lauren, as you most likely know, is reunification. 50% of children will be reunified with their birth parents. It does not always go smooth, but that's the end result, okay? So many people who try to go into foster care simply to adopt, they end up having their hearts broken because the child does not go up for adoption, or the adoption might be sabotaged for whatever reason it might be. So keep that in mind. Now, in regards to red flags for long term, you know, that's really challenging to answer the question because it's really based upon the individual case. You know, if you're looking specifically to adopt and you want to let your agency know that's what you want. When I became a foster parent, I did not set out to adopt. It just happened naturally. And again, you probably know it if you're in my book, Fostering Love. But my concern here, Lauren, is this. You're going to have your heart broken. These children are going to be placed in your home. You're going to come to love them as your own. And then they're going to be transition out of your home to go back with a biological family member. It's very, very common. Thank you. My son is here and he brought me a drink. So Lauren, I would consider that. Now, check out the book Foster Parenting Manual. I think you can get some encouragement there about the adoption process. Also check out the webinar we have about adoption at the Foster Care Institute. I appreciate you asking. Amy, hey, before we get to Amy, and Amy's here, and Julia's here, so glad you're here. Dublin is here. Before we get any further, if you don't get the Foster Care Institute newsletter, here's my turn to plug it in right now, okay? I want to make sure that you get it because tomorrow morning, we've got the foster care video tip of the week and the words of inspiration. And earlier this week, we had the foster care news of the week, the foster care 101 video lesson, the foster care webinar of the week, the motivational moment, and a whole lot more. If you don't get the newsletter, you need to sign up. Just type I want newsletter, your email address. I want newsletter, your email address, absolutely free. We're going to send it to you tonight. This week's from Tuesday, and you'll get the video tip tomorrow, okay? All right, Amy's here. Welcome, Amy. Glad you're here. This kinship placement out of state. If approved, is there any kind of transitional move for 15-month-old baby? Baby doesn't know person wanting kinship. Want it to be less traumatic for baby. I've had since 5 days old. Well, congratulations, Amy. I've had children as young as 27 hours old, but you know that if you're the book Love and Mayhem. You know, so you're asking me if there's improved, is there any kind of transitional move for a 15-month-old baby? Well, you know, it's very hard to begin with when a child moves from one state to the next because of the paperwork that goes along with it. It's very hard with state borders, but you probably already got that figured out there, Amy. I'm really not quite sure, Amy, what you're looking for if there's any kind of transitional move. So if you could give me a little more insight into your question there, Amy, I'm really not sure. It's kind of vague what you want there. I understand the baby doesn't know a person wanting kinship. That's very normal. And you know, if this baby's been with you for 5 days old, and the baby's 15-month-old now, there's going to be attachment issues to be sure if the child should go back. But give me a little bit more insight into what your question is. It's kind of vague. I'm not really quite sure what you're asking here. I'd love to answer for you. So if you could just maybe retype it, let's get to it. Julia's here. Welcome, Julia. Glad you're here. Good evening. This is Foster Talk with Dr. John. Good evening, everyone. I'm convinced my foster daughter 5 has RAD, reactive attachment disorder, and at the very least serious emotional issues. Most likely it's very emotional coming into foster care. It's a time of anxiety being placed into care. Now listen, imagine being taken away from everything you know, late at night without any explanation, being thrust into a strange home with strange people, told these are the rules, new school, everything. That's a time of anxiety. Kids in foster care are very, very scared. You know, going to your home, going to my home, they're scared, they're confused, they're wondering why. So it's very normal. She was removed with her siblings for physical abuse and domestic violence, guns and drugs. She doesn't get counseling or therapy because the therapist said she was too young and not participating. And I'm told it's too soon to get her evaluated, being she's only been with us for 2 months. No, she can be evaluated. I feel like she needs more than we can give her alone. I'm not talking about disruption at all. I just need help working with her. What can I do? What would you do? Well, we have a webinar on reactive attachment disorder. We also talk about in the book behind me, the Foster Care Survival Guide. I would consider a few different types of therapy that you can do in your own home. Play therapy is a fantastic form of therapy that you can do in your own home. Art therapy. There is a lot of healing when a child continues to color or draw or work with some type of art. You'd be amazed at what they do with that art, even the coloring. Um, or markers, whatever it might be, painting. If you have an animal, I would encourage you to have the child learn how to bond with that animal. A little bit of animal therapy or pet therapy. Just petting an animal and talking to an animal is very, very therapeutic, very calming. The animal can't respond. The animal can't talk back. All the animal does is listening, and it's very nurturing for the child. There's also music therapy. Maybe you could give the child a guitar or a harmonica or something like that. So play therapy, animal therapy, art therapy, music therapy are forms of therapy you can do in your own home to help. Now, you certainly need to see if the child has reactive attachment disorder. I would encourage you to read more about it. Check out the webinar we have, Julia. Check out the webinar we have at the Foster Care Group about reactive attachment disorder. It helps you to diagnose it and gives you some strategies on how to address it. It's very hard. It's very hard having a child in the home with reactive attachment disorder. I've had the kids in my home several times for that. It's tough. Dublin, if I've had a child for over 6 months, shouldn't the stimulus check be given for the child? The bio parent spent the last stimulus on drugs and will do the same with this one. I'd rather be put in an account with the child's name. Dublin, I appreciate you asking. To be honest with you, I'm not I'm not quite sure about the stimulus check myself. Many times the checks will go to the birth parents, and they will continue to do so. Many times, even the tax purposes, the birth parents have that ability as well. That's the norm. I understand it should be placed in the child. I get it. I agree with you. Yet, it most likely will go to the parents. Now, I'm not quite sure. After 6 months, it's a whole different scenario. I'd quickly ask your caseworker. They might have a little bit more insight. The stimulus check is all new for all of us. We're still learning about it. We're still trying to figure it out. My wife and I have 6 children. We're still trying to figure it out ourselves here as well. So if somebody else has some insight into that, we'd love to hear from you. This is Foster Talk with Dr. John. I'm your host, Dr. John DeGarmo, founder and director of the Foster Care Institute, foster parent to over 60-plus children. So glad you're here with us tonight. Don't forget, if you want the Foster Care Institute newsletter, type in I want newsletter, your email address. We'll get it to you tonight, okay? Lauren says, thank you so much for the expert words. I do expect a broken heart, but hope not. Well, I hope you don't either, Lauren. Again, I've had 3 adoptions and 4 failed adoptions. Broken hearts. And if you're in my book, Love and Mayhem, you're going to read a lot about that. It's broken my heart over and over and over. Lauren, we'll get that newsletter to you. Look for that. Now, this is so you won't know until the link is dry in the adoption papers. Way too often, family or kin is found, especially with infants. Hey, thank you for responding to that. I appreciate that. Audrey says, hello from Pennsylvania. Hello, Audrey from Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania. I've had the opportunity to go to Pennsylvania so many times over the years. Spoken at a lot of foster care trainings. I've spoken at fundraising events for foster care, for nonprofits. I've been keynotes. I love going to Arizona. Julie says, what book behind you do you recommend that covers reactive attachment disorders and therapies you recommended earlier? Specific title, please. Sure. Thanks for asking. This one right here. It is called The Foster Care Survival Guide. The Foster Care Survival Guide. I've got a few copies left, Julie. It's one of our best sellers. Just go to the Foster Care Institute, type in Foster Care Institute. All right. Go to the bookstore. Order that book. I'll send you a signed copy personally to you in the mail tomorrow. Also, there's a number of webinars, Julia, I'd recommend that you watch. Trauma-Informed Parenting Part 1, Trauma-Informed Parenting Part 2, Anxieties and Disorders, Reactive Attachment Disorder, Positive Parenting, and Anger Management. Those are 6 webinars, Julia, that I would encourage you to watch to help you learn how to parent this child who's got these issues. Again, I've been there. It is hard. Okay, a little bit of insight here. I was told by the IRS stimulus. This is from I think maybe Kelly's writing this here. I was told by the IRS stimulus goes with the last person to successfully claim the kids, regardless who had them longer in the year. This is something completely different than Texas. Well, thank you for that insight. I appreciate that. Caitlin is here. Caitlin, welcome to Foster Talk with Dr. John. So glad you're here. How hard or easy is it to switch foster care agencies? Caitlin, it's really not, well, of course, every state is different, to be sure, and every agency is different. Generally, it's not too difficult. you sign up with a new agency and you close with the old agency. I know a lot of people go from state to faith-based or from faith-based to state, whatever it might be, whatever works best for you. Generally not too difficult. Not too difficult, Kaylin. I hope I answered that for you there. Joan wants a newsletter. Joan, I would love to give you the newsletter. All I need, though, is your email address. Put I want newsletter and your email address, and we will get that to you tonight, okay? I see that Priscilla is here tonight. Welcome, Priscilla. Barbara is here, too. Cedric is here. Glad you're here, this Cedric. Jenny is here, too. Glad you're here. And Coda, I think the name is Kota. Kota, welcome Kota. My husband and I just finished MAP. We're wanting to do ages 0 to 2. We're brand new, no bio kids yet. We're 24 and happy for any advice, tips, and tricks. First of all, Coda, I would encourage you to sign up for the newsletter. Foster Care Institute newsletter, get the newsletter, right? So you can get all those tips. I would encourage you to check out the book, The Foster Parenting Manual. All right, check out that one there. And also The Foster Care Survival Guide. Those are 2 books. If you're a person of faith, faith and foster care, absolutely. Learn as much as you can. Read up as much as you can. Coda, here's the truth. And I write about this in the best-selling book, Fostering Love. I had a child die. Death of my first child. My wife and I had 3 other kids. We were both college. I was teaching school at the time and high school at the time. My wife was a doctor of nutrition. And when we had our first placement, I went through the training just like you did. I thought I knew it all. And I recognized within my very first placement, within 20 minutes of my first placement, that, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this yet. I'm not ready for this. So I thought, where can I learn more? But there's not enough books out there. So after getting my doctorate in foster care, I started writing books to help you and me. So read as much as you can. Sign up, Coda. You and your husband sign up for the Foster Care Institute webinar program so you can get all the training you need. And get those books and continue to read, all right? So you're going to get lots of tips there. Elena's here. Elena reminds us to document. Thank you for that, Elena. Becky wants a newsletter. Becky, we will get that newsletter to you tonight. Look for that. Joan wants a newsletter. Joan, we'll get that newsletter to you tonight. Julia, what would you recommend? Would you recommend we go to court when the bios have dates? Absolutely, I do. And there's a whole webinar on that as well. I absolutely do think so. Rights and responsibilities of foster parents. You have the right to do so. My bios have court today. I wasn't told by a social worker. Mom actually told the kids in their visit. Would it be beneficial? Maybe I'm overstepping by wanting to go. No, Julia. I write in several of my books. I always go as much as I can, as often as I can, to go. Because court is a very, very scary time. It's a very scary time for the children. There might be some things said to the child or in front of the child. The child might hear something that might scare them, confuse them, fill them with more anxiety. Maybe the birth parents might say something that's alarming. It's hard. So I go as often as I can to show the child that we're in this together. I'm here with you. We're going to face this as a family unit. I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. All right. I think it's important to go, to be sure. Now, I've had some times where it's been a bit of crazy. I write about in the book Love and Mayhem. But again, you had the right, and I have it in the book. In the training webinar at the Foster Care Institute, Rights and Responsibilities of Foster Parents. You might want to check it out. You have the right to go. You also have the right to be heard as well, if you so wish. So yes, I always recommend going, and you never know what's going to happen. Coda wants a newsletter. Cody will get that newsletter to you. Julia says that document some more. Absolutely, yeah. Documentation is probably the most important thing that you can do as a foster parent. Documentation, documentation, documentation. I say they're the 3 most important words, and Elena has picked that up and run with it. Yeah, 3 most important words to foster parent is to document. Tracy is here. Tracy, glad you're here. Lucy is here. This is Foster Talk with Dr. John. I'm your host, Dr. John DeGarmo, founder and director of the Foster Care Institute. 60 plus kids. Hey, do you know how many kids I've had in my house at the same time? Do you know how many kids I've had in my house at the same time? The maximum number? Go ahead and type in there how many you think I've had. Maximum number. All right, you might, if first timer, it might surprise you. Lucy's here. 13-year-old lad, I love the word lad, has just spent an hour and a half smashing the wall because we asked him to brush his teeth. Sounds like you need to check out the webinar, Anger Management. I need some calming words from me after sitting with him the entire time. Okay, Lucy, here's some calming words for you. He's in pain. He's confused. He is scared. His emotions are overwhelming him. He doesn't know how to process those emotions. He's angry. No one wants to be in foster care. No one wants to be in foster care. He's of that age, Lucy, where it's embarrassing for him to be in foster care. If he's in middle school kids are tough. And if they know he's in foster care, they're very well picking on him in middle school. He's angry. He's angry at the situation. He might be angry at his parents. He might feel guilty for being angry at them. He might feel guilty for being in foster care. He's confused. He's lonely. He's sad. He's anxious. He is again, all those emotions are overwhelming him and he doesn't know how to process it. It's very normal. I've been there, Lucy. You can see some of the walls in the house in the room next door. I've got holes in walls in many of my rooms here at my house. So I'm right there with you. Lucy, I would encourage you tonight to check out that webinar, the anger management, all right, the foster care. Also, trauma-informed parenting part 2 and positive parenting solutions. Those are some ones you're probably going to like. And if you're looking for some words of inspiration, hey, pick up this book right here. I wrote it for you, Lucy. I wrote it just for you. The little book of foster care wisdom, 365 days of inspiration and encouragement for today's foster care families. All right. But Lucy, know this. It's hard, but what you're doing is so important. And you're changing that child, Lucy. That teenager is so much better for having you in their life. I appreciate what you do, Lucy. I know it's hard. I've been there. I know it's hard. I appreciate what you do. Aniston is here. Aniston, welcome. Is it unusual for CPS to not allow you into the adopt U.S. kids or allow foster adopt only because they tell us they have too many adoptions? Yes. Is it unusual? It is a little unusual, but it's not unheard of. And if we work with a private agency, they'll close us out. That could happen. To be doesn't need foster parents, but what about those kids whose parents are waiting for forever homes? Well, there may be some. Actually, I don't know, Aniston. I don't know the agency you're with. I don't know the state you're in. But every agency has different outlooks, right? To be sure, maybe your agency just has so many foster to adopt parents there. They just don't need anymore. Maybe they just want people just to foster parent. That could very well likely be the case. If you work with a private agency, could they close you out? They absolutely could. Every agency has different policies, different practices, different outlooks, different ways of doing it. And if you feel this is not the agency for you, maybe you want to go towards a faith-based agency or a private agency. All right, I know it's hard, but keep at it. I appreciate being here. Thank you so much. One more question from Julia. Foster daughter 7 ripped the library book and hid the pages in her backpack. This has not been the first time she snuck things in her backpack, but it doesn't happen all the time. Would you recommend I check her backpack? Yes, I do recommend that. Or would that make the situation worse? No. You check it together. Check it together. But you do it in a positive fashion, okay? Say, you're looking for homework or whatever it might be. In the past, she just snuck some toys, little random hoarding things from the house. Very normal, Julia, very normal. Children in foster care do hoard things, especially food. This is the first time she actually damaged something and tried to hide it. You might want to look at that webinar on stealing. All right, you might want to look at the webinar on stealing we have here. But again, what she's doing, it's very normal. It's a reaction to the anxieties that she's feeling. Again, she doesn't know how to process those emotions. She's angry because she's confused. She's scared. At that age, she's absolutely scared. So many questions. Why am I here? When do I go home? When do I see mommy next? Did I do something wrong? Do these people love me? Did my mommy love me? So this is how she either withdraws or she lashes out. And she's kind of lashing out. And again, she doesn't understand. She's confused. And she doesn't know how to process those emotions. Check out the forms of therapy that we talked about earlier. Play therapy, animal therapy, music therapy, art therapy. And check out those webinars I just told you about. Hey, listen, my friends, before I continue to the next question. If you're not a member of the Foster Care Institute, I'm not quite sure why you're not, because you need to be. Unlimited access to over 55 hours of online training webinars. So when you do have a child with reactive attachment disorder in your house, or you do have a child who's bedwetting, or not eating, or stealing, or throwing things, or cursing you, all you need to do, go to the Foster Care Institute, log in, watch the webinar that you need to learn about right away, and at the same time, get an hour credit for everyone you watch as well. And here's a secret. An hour credit, but the webinars are only about 40 minutes long, because who has an hour to watch a webinar, right, when you're taking care of kids? We don't. My Julia says my guess is 15 kids at once. Well, Julia, wow, that'd have been crazy. I've had as many as 11. 11 kids at the house at the same time. We've done that a few times in our house. But 14, wow. I tell you this, we've had 7 in diapers at the same time. Joan, our house is like a revolving door. We run about 20 to 30 kids a year over the past 6 years. Yeah, Joan, I always say our house is like a revolving door as well, a hotel, if you will. I use the term revolving door a lot. Julie says there is an awesome Facebook group for foster Facebook group for Facebook group, sorry, for reactive attachment disorder parents. It has been really helpful for me. Yeah, I belong to that one as well. Darling, 12 kids at a time, 11. Aniston, thank you. We're in Mississippi. Glad you're there. Hey, I love Mississippi. I was there last year, right before the pandemic hit, working with foster care agencies. Thank you. We have the A to Z therapeutic book, and usually works. I know it wasn't about the teeth, and I know what's still about. Still no, less wearing. I'll try the Facebook page. Thanks. Where those simple, Andrea, go to the Foster Care Institute. In fact, I'm going to send you a link right now. The Foster Care John DeGarmo Foster. Okay, Dr. John DeGarmo, foster care expert, or the foster, and you can sign up and get access. We've had this week alone, this week of January, we have had over 200 people join, which really surprised me. I thought we might have a little bit of a down period after the end of the year, but wow, they are signing up. A link where you can join. Okay, I want to give you that. Join. Okay, let's go on other questions. About 5 more minutes left here. About 5 more minutes left here with Foster Talk with Dr. John. I want to make sure I can get your questions in here. Julie says, yeah, everything. Rules, rock, beep, pins, drivers. Yeah, I understand that, but you want to stop it as soon as you can, for sure. Is this part of the foster parent college? Anderson is not part of the foster parent college. It is something different. You're going to find our webinars are different than the Foster Care Institute. Plus, we have free ebooks. We have free benefits. You can print the certificates out with your own name on it. There's a lot of benefits, and the price is one you cannot beat. I promise you, you can't beat the price here at the Foster Care Institute because, hey, I'm a foster parent myself, and I know it's kind of hard right now when you're caring for kids in foster. Lorena, hope. Hello from Freeport, Florida. I'm going to Florida in 19 days. Going to Florida 19 days. We have 2 foster siblings, 4-year-old girl with sexual abuse history and 3-year-old brother with eating disorder. We have 3 bio kids, 7-year-old, 5-year-old girl, 3-year-old girl. My bio kids have become much more stressed with the foster siblings. It has been 4 months and they fight a lot because foster son hurts bio son. That cannot be allowed. That cannot be allowed. Bio parents are getting TPR. I don't think we can do this forever. Any tips, advice, words of encouragement? Sure. Absolutely, Lorena. Your own kids come first, right? And if your own children are in danger, then you need to make. It's hard. I've been there, Lorena. I have been there. I've made this hard decision. I've been there before. Sometimes you need to make a hard decision and say, you know what? These children are better off in another home. There might be a better home for these children, a better fit for these children. I'm going to encourage you to check out the webinar, Birth Children and Foster Children Living Together. Birth Children and Foster Children, I think that's the name of it. Let me see real quickly, Lorena. Let me see what it's called. It is called Birth Children and Foster Children Living Together in the Same House. It's a webinar that you're going to appreciate, you're going to enjoy. A lot of strategies and a lot of tips on how to do it. But at the end of the day, if those strategies and tips on that webinar don't work out for you, you might have to make that hard decision and say, you know what? We need to have these children removed to a different home because our own children are suffering. All right, and I've had to do it twice. And out of 60 plus kids, I did it twice, Lorena. And let me tell you, I had a lot of guilt for it. I felt a lot of guilt, but I also knew at the same time this was the best decision for my family. You need to make sure your family is safe. Protect your family. All right. That's why it's important that we as foster parents recognize that sometimes we need to say no. When we get that phone call, there are some questions you should ask. Questions will help you determine, is this the best fit for my family? Is my family a best fit for this child? Can I provide the resources and support this child needs? Are my own children going to be safe? There's a few questions you need to ask there. All right, Linda's here. How do we get enrolled in the class? What you were talking about? What? Okay, Linda, here, I'm going to give it to you right now. All you do is, yeah, Julia says, you just join online. I think it was $40, but it includes all the online classes. It is worth it. Well, thank you so much for Julia. It is worth it. Yeah, it's $49.95 for the year, right? For unlimited access, and I mean unlimited access. Certificates, there's 9 free ebooks, so a whole lot more. And we are premiering 10 new webinars during 2021. The next one comes out next week, Kinship Care. All right. Okay, listen. Wow, we're out of time already. The time has flew by. It always flies by. I'm so glad you're here this night. Thank you so much for spending this last 30 minutes with me here. I appreciate all that you do. I know foster parenting is hard. It's the hardest thing I've done. Hardest thing I've done. At the same rewarding thing I have done as well. So I appreciate everything that you do. You're changing the world when you care for these children. I know you can't change the world, and I can't change the world, but for these children, their world is changed. Julia says, my agency reimburses me for training, including the membership fee. Just ask. Good for you, Julia. That's fantastic. Some do, some don't. But you know what? For $49.95, that's less than $1 per webinar. And you can't beat that price, I promise you. Hey, for the no, don't forget, if you want the Foster Care Institute newsletter, type in I want newsletter, your email address. I want newsletter. We'll get it to you tonight. For the Foster Care Institute, this has been Foster Talk with Dr. John. Have a great weekend. See you next Tuesday night. I'm Dr. John DeGarmo.